Okay, so I'm going to give you guys the description of the victim that I seen and all the agencies to not call for any of this. All the people that screwed off everything. That would include the National Center and Missing and Exploited Children. F them. I called them multiple times, like on some other stuff, and then they refused to return their calls to me. For some reason, they're treating me like a criminal, even though I'm a child victim to all this. And this is the other addition to this is that when they were questioning me on the human trafficking hotline over a decade ago, they didn't care that I was a kid viewing this. And the guy is trying to pick up on a kid and do whatever with, okay? So that's number one. So that's how they were actually taking this information in. They didn't care about any other additional information. And then I finally gave them further information about the celebrity portion, right? Which is extraordinarily important in this case. And then they just want to go, oh, no, go, you have to take that else, like doing this bullshit, right? No, honey, no. Just because you're a celebrity, you don't get off from being a child human trafficker, okay? None of that. And this group of people were a bunch of celebrities, and as you see, they have this massive interconnection with people like Motley Crue, all these rock bands, right? But also rappers. That's another thing. Now, I don't know the correlation between the Dr. Dre people and those people. However, you already knew Ola was hanging out with Rick James, right? So there's a who knows what the hell's going on over there? Like, I don't know any of the people and Diana Ross's brother and all that shit that was going on. That's Jermaine's buddy over there, which he would know because he hangs out with Peter Nygard. So yeah, no, they're full of shit. Like they're withholding information. That's number one. We know that. Like there's no way that none of these people knew this was going on, right? Because it also made the news, which is so interesting that this was just massively overlooked and people coming at me thinking that I would make up this story for fame. Like, it makes no sense. It's disgusting. Why would I want to make up a story that some guy's like trying to rape me as a kid to become famous? So some guy that you guys didn't even know at the time. I highly doubt that the majority of the population knew the hell who that little guy was. They didn't. Because they just barely came out with something, and that music was still like not so much mainstream. Like there was certain groups of them that were, but not, it wasn't like how it is today, like where you would probably know more of them. And also at that time they were highly racist, and but at the same time, before anybody becomes racist, they have a problem with women, right? So they're not going to be rescuing women off the street. That has been a myth from, I don't know, like from men just lying so they could feel better about themselves for being rapists. But this here, okay, so here's the description of the victim and the name that he told me. So he told me a name. He gave her name Twiggy. And the reason why I called her Twiggy was because she looked exactly, the body shape was very much like Eugenia Cooney. Very underweight, like ridiculously tiny, right? And not knocking her or anything, but that's why they nicknamed her that. And she was barely clothed, like hardly anything on. Her clothes were falling off. It was a tiny lingerie. I think it was like white, lacy, maybe with a little blue in it or something. That's what my memory has on, but him in it. Very tiny. Like it was just this little tiny thing and nothing else, honey. That's something that should have shocked every single person on the street, but it didn't. And then nothing else, right? Except for she had these massive high heels on that she couldn't walk in, and she was falling all over the street. I was like, and he's like, yeah, she's a prostitute, and, she's a little on drugs right now, said that. And she literally looked 10, just probably because of the underweight thing, but she could be 10. I don't know. She could be younger than that for all I know. He's like, yeah, she's 13. He literally told me this, you guys. I was like, I don't know. You can't do anything there. So anyway, that was the description of this female, and she's white. And she was, see, to me, she seems somewhat tall because, like, I'm short, and then she's also in heels, so I can't give you an accurate height. But she was taller than me, and maybe she was 5'7". I don't know. She could be 5'4", and then she's in heels, and then she looks like a model height, right? It was like that because she was really lengthy, like tall, lengthy, skinny. So somebody was missing this child at that time. I don't know if it's a case where it was another Christian mom, because that's what was going on here. Okay, so let's also talk about this bullshit of missing and exploited kids and why they're out there anyway to begin with. The Christians, for a huge portion of this, are the problem and a cause. Okay, so they create their own monster. And as I was talking about how the authoritative parenting, right? So that's part of all this therapy stuff. Like, if you have that, you're effed up, and it's child abuse and yada yada. And these parents think they're doing the most godliest thing by abusing their kids, right? So that was a huge portion of that. So then they were hating on the LGBTQ community. So that's a whole other realm of things where all those kids were out there and they seen that, and okay. So that portion, for the most part, was over on Santa Monica. Okay, so I was hanging out down there too, and there was kids everywhere. Like, it felt like at time, I mean, I don't know, it's just like they were everywhere. That's all I could say about it. Is like, it was like a normal backdrop to where everybody's just normalizing this behavior from abusive parents, and they didn't even arrest the parents. Like, in a lot of the cases, it has to do with the parents being abusive, and if the kids ran away, then yeah, because of that. And then, so what they would do at that time, they don't even care that your parents are abusive pieces of shit. They would go and arrest you and then drag you back to the house because you need to listen to your authoritative parent. Yeah. So that's kind of the bullshit that was going on out here at the time. And so, and then they were having, some of these people were having drug problems because obviously if you come from abuse or some bullshit like that, they're out there, or just because of the situation like I was in, right? So let's just say, like, I got forced into, this whole thing, and then all of a sudden I started doing drugs because those people were, dealers and shit. I'm still a victim. So I'm just pointing it out. Luckily, like, this whole other thing didn't occur in this, but no matter what the outcome of that or what happened here, I'm still a victim. So that doesn't change, but government's treating me like the criminal, like I'm part of this massive operation. I don't know, like, the way they're talking to me. They're not talking to me to, like, try to obtain information to help actual missing and exploited kids, right? Because, okay, if I have a child, see, I would be fuming pissed right here. So if I have a child that's still missing from 1992, and I'm trying to figure out where my child is, government is over here tossing off information that somebody has regarding to knowing where children were, just generally, okay? Because they can go seek that information now and go investigate it and look into it and see if there was any records that they used their ID or anything. They could do a whole bunch of things here. And so those are leads, or like leads, right? So it's like, oh, I know that there were children in this hotel, right? So they don't even want that information. They don't even care. And then I believe that the main human trafficking hotline should be investigated for all the information that they did receive. And also who obtained that information, because I got targeted in the middle of this. So it's important to note who these people are, because they obviously didn't do a damn thing. And then they were trying to push off information, which was bizarre. I was like, who pushes off information? You're supposed to take that information in and investigate it, not sit there and do this bullshit because, oh, they're government and they give me government money. They straight up, there was another agency that just straight up told me that. They're like, yes, We get government grants, and so we can't take that because that whole thing right there, it's like, we know and do agree that that is human trafficking, but government over here is looking for something different, right? That's the key. And so I was like, see that bullshit right there? It's a front. All this is a front. If the missing and exploited children people gave a shit about kids, and they would have called me back. That was a crazy thing, because I had actually given them information for years on some external, online activity stuff. But I needed them to call me in regards to my stuff and this stuff, and they don't want to call back. I don't know why. It's so bizarre. Like, the minute it starts touching on me personally, all of a sudden there's this thing, treat her like shit, do this thing, make up stories, throw her in the street. And they literally did this in front of everybody, because I'm telling everybody, and everybody's fine with it. That is outrageous. But this has been going on forever. And if I was actually committing a crime, do you know those gang cops would have just arrested me? Okay? The thing that they're doing, they're setting up plots to get money and trying to harm me and doing all these things. They could have made up they did make up a crime. They covered up a crime. They could have sat there and said, oh, we caught you. They could have done anything there. I don't even want to think about it, because they are that horrible. But it would have been very easy for them to do that. But that's not what they're trying to do. That would be horrible, because then I'd get into the system. I'm thinking they're really thinking about this, because if I get into the system and then I need to get an appointed lawyer, see, and it's almost like they're purposely like trying to maneuver this thing to where I can't get legal. I can't defend myself. We're trying to get her killed on the street or whatever the bullshit is. I'm not some fucking poor person that's out here fucking doing that shit. They knew it. They knew that these guys did that to me because they saw a kid and they're like, oh, there's a kid with money. What did they take? How can they take fucking 5 figures in 6 weeks from me? That's not me being a poor person and anything else. So that's what happened. These are actual facts. So, but LAPD wanted to join in and wanted money in the middle of it and to cover this up, right? But like I'm saying, in addition, there's this actual victim. And that victim looked like she was going to fall over dead any minute anyway. And this homie over here has a child. So he's a pedo and he's trying to get up on me. He's a pedo. He's a pedo because there's 2. So, that went on. Those men did not have a problem with it. That's a myth that they would go and kill. Because he's doing it in the open. If they were going to kill him being a pedo, what's that? It's been bullshit. All those guys have been raping kids and shit. So, no, that's just garbage. Then, what else was in this? The other night I pulled this up because it was just like, I love finding examples of sociopaths on my way. This one was a good one. Oh, man. I was like, every day. I mean, I could find them all day long. You'll find them in the comments on these cases where some guy is assaulting a woman in some way, right? So then they pop in. Let me see. Because people act like they can't figure it out. They're trying to say... Okay, so they're pretending that something is disgusting. Okay, so those guys. Okay, so there's a ton of socios that act like, yeah, that's pretty gross. And then they'll do this thing. Okay, so there was a video of a guy, because it actually tailed off on this other case that was in Glendale where this guy was running around and basically was probably sniffing the girl's behind or some bullshit, right? So that guy in Glendale, he was arrested in 2011. He was in prison for 8 years. And then they let him out. And the minute they let him out, he did it again. But he wasn't in prison for 8 years for doing that. He went to prison for 8 years for burglarizing on top of it, right? They don't care about the sniffing part. So this guy, 9 years ago, because it's before me too, there was another case of a guy doing it in a grocery store. And I said, yeah, these men do this shit all the time. And even on that case, a whole bunch of women came forward and said, oh yeah, all these guys. Yeah, so you're all rapists, okay? You're just getting outed in a million different ways. But they go, this is sick, but has he broken any real laws though? Like he wants to defend the guy for harming our gender. And then he goes, as far as I could tell, there's no physical contact to be molestation or sexual assault. So we could just stick our faces close to their ass as we can, as long as we don't touch them. It's all good, guys. It's all good. It's all good, guys. Yeah, this guy. He's telling you who he is. I wouldn't want to be around this guy, because what he's doing is he's trying to legitimize harming our gender as it's not bad. And so, you know, when I was talking about the doctor thing, where the doctor was on the plane, right? And he started, choking the chick, that thing. So the same mindset, right? Well, we're not touching him. It's not molestation. It's not sexual assault. We're just standing next to him, pulling it out for the kid. That's all good, huh? Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Rapist. This is one of those things. It's like, yeah, if somebody tells you to jump off a bridge, are you going to do it? Yeah, some of these guys will. So that's the thing. It's like, if a law came out and it said, if your kid tells you no, you could chop their head off, okay? Okay, just because the law says you could do it, doesn't mean it doesn't mean it's a good law, and it doesn't mean you should do it. And you should probably fight to fix that law. Just like saying, the guy I think got in trouble in the video, but maybe not. But, regardless, let's just say they made this all legal for men to stick their fucking heads up our asses, right? So you cannot sit there and say you're not a sociopath by doing it. You're harming someone else, regardless of what the law says. You're harming someone else. That's the definition of a sociopath. It doesn't care what the laws say. It cares about how you're being, right? Your actions being criminal and harming other people. It could be legal all fucking day to rape us, because it had been, right? It was legal to have slaves. Having them, just because they made it legal, does not make you any less of a sociopath. So, just pointing it out. I just wanted to point it out. Because this goes on all day long. It's legal, though. We could do that to those damn objects. Oh, they're called women. Those objects over there. Yeah. They're very easy to pick out. Like, and again, they could have a million other problems too, but that's that. Yeah, and where are all these good men, from back when, going, God, this is so wrong, dude. We need to stop treating women like this. No, they were enabling it just like that. Everyone. And then act offended when they're all called a bunch of pedo rapists, because they are. They just want to sit there and see themselves. Look, dude, it was totally legal. Yeah, because the laws are by male supremacists. Of course it was legal. We can own humans. The worst was my boss situation where they got murdered. Like both of those idiots over there. And they go put in the media, they're like, I'm the slave of this guy. And it's just like, no, Whitey doesn't have a problem with this. Because it's like, oh, slaves. Yeah, we all have slaves. There's nothing wrong here. Like, this wouldn't be a labor violation that somebody has a slave and he doesn't pay him and he's like doing this other thing, right? So they're just like, oh, I couldn't believe it, regardless of our any community involved in that, this is a legal job, okay? This isn't playtime. This is like a job. So you do not have technical slaves, like you could have a plaything on the side. Those two hated each other. So that's not going on. It's an actual abuse situation. And then they didn't pay him a lot. Like, there was a whole thing for years. Like, this hatred went on, because I can at least tag. The last time I heard that dude flipping out on that dude was in 2006, right? So the murder was in 2010. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, hindsight. Because the dude was like spewing out, like, they hate nobody like that owner. The only people that like the owner are the people doing stuff with the owner. So, and with that guy, and with that guy. They both, there was guilty girl. And so the media goes and talks to them. Does not talk to me. Who's the one actually hanging out with LAPD here at that time, actually? That was me. So the media is like, we're gonna like not talk to the credible person. We're gonna talk to these girls and have them lie their asses off. And they were abusive as hell and being a part of some other shady bullshit. But technically speaking, like they're victims to it too at the same time, but they're pieces of trash just as humans. But they're victims to the situation because the owner brought this freaking fool up in here to our job. And we're independent contractors. We're not employees, but he is his employee. And so technically I could have filed a lawsuit on that owner. So I'm just saying legalities. We could sue a million people all day. But yeah, that could have been a very easy legal case because he brought in a psychotic male to come and prey on us, and then he didn't want to pay him to clean up after every night, right? Like a maintenance guy. And so yeah, we could have had a good lawsuit there. In fact, all of us could have got together and done it, but these damn girls wouldn't do it. These would be the same girls that are like, you're causing problems and we're gonna try to get rid of you. Yeah, those ones. Because then they're like, well, he gives me cigarettes if I let him do that, sniff thing. Yeah, the thing with that the guy was doing in the stores, same shit right there. That's what they were trying to do that. And I go, you ain't doing that crap to me, you asshole. Like, what the fuck? And so, yeah, this is my job. I shouldn't have to go to my job and expect some garbage like this. But they leave it out of the media because they go and talk to people that are involved in that criminal activity. And that's actually been going on forever. Like, let's talk to the gang member cops and see what they say. And then it's like this big spin of like untruth. And so, yeah, that happened there. I was like, I'm laughing. I'm like, well, if I was such a criminal, you should question LAPD why they hang out with criminals all the time, You should. I mean, that's just the thing. Like, why do they want to hang out with a known criminal? Like, I'm not a criminal, but they're criminal. But I'm just saying, it's like the credibility, like I'm giving this information, right? Okay, even right now, a lot of the people that are putting information forward online have never actually reported anything. They did not report the stuff that they're talking about. I, on the other hand, have dealt with a million different departments of government dealing with this stuff. So it's not like I came out here and I just started accusing all these people of this weird stuff. That's not what happened. So why wouldn't the media stick to something that's actually credible? I would get arrested if I was just going to the fucking cops and FBI and making up shit like that. I would literally get arrested for that. They would be like, you're trying to take some celebrity down, and this whole other thing. But they're treating me like shit. That's what I'm saying. I go, they're trying to cover up everything because in these cases, a lot of them were involved. And so they want to cover their own ass. I mean, that's just plain and simple because they were promoting this conduct on our gender the entire time. Factual. I don't even, like, it's just absurd to sit here and watch a tank of millions of people pretend that they were not down with any of us the whole time. It's like, oh, we didn't live in the 90s. Like, I don't know. Never. You don't remember how you did that. You don't remember raping anybody. You don't remember raping anybody. Yeah, no, they know they rape people. They want the right to do it. See, and they're trying to argue the, just some crazy shit there. Like, look, I didn't touch you. I'm touching myself. That thing. You're not a victim because I didn't actually touch you, but I'm making you watch it and I'm sexualizing you. And it's actually, it is generally technically a sexual assault, even though they didn't touch you. Rape is technically groping. So yeah, I mean, the terminology here has been kind of slapped around. Like, this is what men have been doing the whole time. How much can I get away with? Yeah, that's where their mind is, not, oh, we should actually respect females, you know? That's been the whole thing. So when you do that, I'm just saying, when you treat another group of people like that, what's going to happen is that's going to get normalized, and some of the people in that group, like females, will do it back because that's what they're doing, right? That's basically the tell off of why everything's the way it is right now. I mean, it's pretty elementary on that portion, yeah. Men, they're a bunch of pedo rapists. They're the ones that keep going and fighting to get the ages down. But they got Karen all up in here because they raped her when she was really little. And then they married her off, right, to some old fart. And, you know, they're the ones that are out here going, oh, we're still married now. You're still a victim, though. But we're still married. Oh, my husband didn't know. Bullshit. Okay, so, yeah, that's going on. So then what they're doing is like, look, it was wonderful here, and God made me marry him at a young. They're doing this shit, dude. They're fucking psychotic. And so some of them would be fighting to lower the ages for pedophile males, particularly Christians in the United States. So that's been a long-stem historical problem. Like I said, somebody asked, you know, it's like, it's not really that hard. I mean, it's hard to obtain the finer details of the AOC, but the original thing was definitely from Christian men where they wanted to rape little children. So we got that much. And so, yeah, I don't know who's denying that because it's a historical fact, you know? And then we saw in the Jeffrey Epstein case, that one lawyer dude, who's a Democrat actually, wanted to lower the age and give some sort of thing for it for his own sexual pleasure. He wants children. Yeah, so, and he's, I don't know what he is, Jewish, Christian, whoever. It doesn't matter because the ideology revolving around all those religions have to do with how they view women. So the religious thing on its own there's no line. Like, it doesn't matter which religion it was, or is, or whatever. It's their viewpoint, and that's male supremacy, by the way. So that's why I'm laughing when they start doing this thing, talking about them when they're going after these neo-Nazis and they're trying to separate themselves from that, but they're not actually different. The only difference is the branch off of who they decide they want to go target. Like, outside women. They all target women, but they don't all target the Jews. But they'll target groups of people, like people of color, they'll target LGBTQ, you know what I mean? Like, they have all these different branch offs, but the main root stem is women. Because that's the catapult to go that loco. I was like, to start going off on these things, right? So, yeah, I wanted to point that out because in the 90s, in the 92 portion here, so that was the, I'm not going to do good in history. I think it's the Anita Hill thing. Yeah, 91. Yeah, so Clarence Thomas was sexually harassing her. Yeah, so there was a whole thing there where they didn't even give a crap about women. So I just wanted to point it out. And there's a woman of color, but every woman, they did not. There's a myth going on, like, you know, white women, you know, men had respect for. No, they didn't. Like, they didn't. They just didn't. But they were, like, the chosen property of a rich white man. And they pin them against, so you'll notice all these pins with these guys, like, just like I pulled out with the Nicki Minaj thing. I was like, dude's a socio. So they like to just play this game to have women start targeting each other and crap, and then he's like the total rapist. And for whatever reason, either she's legitimizing rape or, you know, or just in full-blown denial that he can't be a rapist because it's ridiculous. Like, I wouldn't want to be that woman because it's embarrassing. But, yeah, doing that for the guy. He's not the one getting like totally reamed in the media. Like that's the thing about it. I go, these socios don't fall for him. I go, you're the one that looks like the ass in the end, and that's what they do. Just like Keith Raniere, he gets all the women to do all this stuff, and he's the most evil in the whole thing. Chad Daybell, the most evil in the whole thing. I could pull up a million cases where they're like that, and then the media focuses on the woman. I'm like, that's interesting. But that's male supremacy, right? Because the guy didn't actually do the physical thing. He told these women to go out and jump off a bridge, and they did, you know. So, and you know, I think they were trying to argue that even with the Charles Manson, like he's that sociopath that's like, you guys, I'm gonna tell you what to do. You guys got to go out and do all these things. And then there's men that are just sympathizing with them, going, well, he didn't actually do anything. I was like, no, he did something. I so would have a sit down with Allison Mack. Like, I'm so curious. We worked together like eons ago. And it's kind of a weird, it's just a weird thing because I don't know if I talked to her on this set. I had to do some scenes, and then it wasn't too long after where the freaking LOA cult comes in. Not the Keith thing yet, but the LOA people that later got involved with the Keith thing. So all of a sudden they pop in because I don't know if it was my friend Mel or if it was that other psychotic. I'm thinking it's the psychotic that wouldn't call the police, and there was the whole thing with the poisoning that thing. I'm thinking it was that thing that had me go to this bullshit. So somebody brought it up to me to go to the movie that the cult put out, the Ramthot, that damn fucking Ramthot thing, whatever the hell her damn name is. The the LOA cult leader, right? And she did this movie, but nobody knew the cult made the movie. It was like presented in this whole other way, right? And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It was brand new. Like, I hadn't heard any, like, I'm all into this stuff. And I was like, I've never heard of any of this stuff. This is kind of interesting, though. It was just interesting, like, different points of view. Now, some of the people in it are probably just totally, innocent of being, you know, these people, okay? Just like, you know, it's really kind of interesting to think, like, you know, in science, if this is this, like, should you think like that? You know, because I'm a science person, so I was kind of like, yeah, they're preying on us, okay? So I was like, okay, you know, and it's just one of those things, it's like the what if things, right? But then, like I said, it started turning hella dark when these people started being like, you know, you caused your own rape, and these kids must have caused their own cancer. And I'm just like, whoa, wait a minute. So, yeah, no, like, and I said, like, there was a point where some of these people, like, had mental health issues after the fact, caused by the ideology of them. I was like, so being very scared of their own mind. Like, it wasn't any I was noticing this thing. I was like, God, it's not any different than thinking there's a devil, because you're kind of like in war in your head, right? You're like, oh, these thoughts, because they kept saying, if you even think it, it's going to happen. That's what they would do. I was like, that would cause anybody to go nuts. Oh my God, half my dreams, dude. If half that stuff even happened, it'd be a worse nightmare. But you know what I mean? Like, you start going in this thing. And yeah, so I was studying it, and I was asking a lot of questions, and some parts of it is kind of like, I think people just want to live in Disneyland. Because you could literally just stay in that mindset and think the world is, you know, a certain way, and totally shut everything out, which is, that's actually really unhealthy, that whole thing. But you could live like that and then totally disregard anyone else's pain. Because what they do is they kind of go, oh, if this terrible thing happened to them, then they caused it themselves. Like a straight up victim blame, and they are turning into a sociopath. And they don't see it, and it's yeah, it's pretty crazy. But so yeah, Keith ran off with some of that, and then he's a god. He's the typical socio with the ego, and he's a criminal, and he rapes kids, and then he gets women. He starts brainwashing them into this ideology, into this religion. I understand it, so that's why I was like, I would like to sit down with her one day if she would talk to me. I don't know. It's just because I know how it got there. I can understand it because of that thing right there. And when she thinks that it just overtook her, because you start to believe like this is now reality, because there's this process, you guys, where the socio does it. It's basically like a gaslight and a brainwash, but you have to kind of go over this hurdle in your brain a little bit. Like, you got to ignore all this stuff that you once knew, and you got to let go and go here, and then you're going to find the way. Like, there's this thing to it. And then once you pass that threshold, then your brain starts operating on that level, and reality is no longer there. It's such a crazy thing. I understand it. It's hard for me to explain. And I believe that was the thing over there. And I don't think that because it wasn't her idea. I mean, it wasn't her idea to cause this, like, group of thing. And I think people have a hard time seeing her as any victim in it at all, even though she did victimize other people. We know she victimized other people. We're not even, like, trying to put that off. It's just, she is definitely a victim to the sociopath Keith. So that's how that cycle went. It's not a black and white thing where it's like this person is a total evil person the whole time, and they're not a victim to this other person, because that's what happened there. So, and the media was really shitty. Why do they focus? She's not the one that ran the thing, and it's like you hardly see Keith. And it's just like, we're going to focus on Allison. It's like, well, Allison's a damn victim to him. And she's obviously a victim to him because he's sitting there doing videos with her talking to him. And he's manipulating her on the video. That's what manipulation looks like. And then the whole focus is that. And I'm just like, him. They did it again. Chad. They keep doing this. And so what it does is it promotes men to be like that, and saying, oh, the women, we should go after all the women that they manipulated. Yeah. And then, oh, the guys can totally do that. Like, that's okay. We should expect that. We should totally expect men to do that.